Doing well, thank you. Hope you are.
Good. Evening, Clay.
Good to see you again.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks.
Yeah. I was going to say, do you have a little vacation?
I took my son on a golf trip, and spending a week with a 16-year-old is both a lot of fun and exhausting.
Good for you. I'm sure he won't forget it either.
Yeah, I came back to work to rest.
Hi, Amy. I see your name, but I don't see your face.
I'm here.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. I have 7 o'clock, and it looks like we have everyone but Roy, who I suspect will be here. So,
Sorry, I'm going to go ahead and send him the link one more time. He just emailed me and asked for the link again. So
okay,
I'll go ahead.
okay, great. Well, he will be joining us shortly, and I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. So we call on time. Would like to call to order the June 21st, 2022 public hearing of the Town of James Island Board of Zoning Appeals, also known as the BZA. This meeting has been noticed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. 15 days prior to this hearing, a public hearing notice was printed in the Post and Courier. A sign was posted on the designated properties, and a notice was mailed to the applicant or representative, property owner, and to property owners within 300 feet of the application, and to parties of interest. Persons, organizations, and the news media that have requested declaration of our meeting have also been notified. The Freedom of Information Act does not require notification of anyone other than the applicant and parties of interest. I would like to also open with our prayer. I apologize. I meant to do that first. If everyone who wishes would join me. Dear God, we thank you for the opportunity to gather here tonight. We pray that this meeting is successful and productive. Please guide us during our discussions and give us wisdom concerning the issues we may face. We pray for the ability to work together in harmony for the welfare of the citizens, land, and natural resources of the Town of James Island. In your most blessed name we pray. Amen. I will skip the pledge tonight. It's a little awkward to do it on Zoom. Hopefully next time we'll all be in person and can stand together, those who wish, and do that. I'll jump back to introductions. The board members who will hear your case tonight are our Vice Chair, David Savage, Roy Smith, Amy Fabry, Corey Hipp, and myself. I'm Brooke Lyon, and I am your chairperson. Staff members present tonight are Kristen Crane, our planning director, Flannery Wood, Planner 2, Bo Wilson, our attorney, Francis Simmons, secretary to the BZA and town clerk, Dr. Cynthia Mignano, Town Council Member, Nikki Grimble, our Town Administrator. And I do not see any other staff or council members. Welcome you all. Board members, the minutes of the May 17th meeting and the April 19th meeting, which was continued to May 17th, they were included in your packets. I hope everyone had a chance to review those. Are there any changes or discussion at all on those minutes? If not, may I have I'll move to approve. Is there a second?
I so move.
Okay, Roy spoke first. Motion to approve by Brooke Lyon, seconded by Roy Smith. Francis, would you please do a roll call vote?
Commissioner Fabry,
Aye.
Commissioner Hip,
Aye.
Vice Chair Savage,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Chairwoman Lyon.
Aye. Minutes, motion is passed to approve the minutes. Our case rulings and minutes from this and any BZA meeting are available for public review and inspection during normal business hours at Town Hall. Excuse me, I've been having some allergies and I apologize for my voice tonight. At this time, I would like to explain to the public the workings of the BZA. The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-judicial body established to interpret and grant relief from the Zoning and Land Development Regulations Ordinance. I would like to mention that zoning is under the purview of the Planning Commission and also approved by Town Council. The Board of Zoning Appeals has jurisdiction over three types of cases: appeals, variances, and special exceptions. Special exceptions are an exception issued by the BZA authorizing a particular use in a specified location within a zoning district, upon demonstrating that such use complies with all the conditions and standards specified by the Town of James Island Zoning and Land Development Regulations Ordinance. A simple majority vote of the quorum present is required to grant a variance and a special exception. It must be understood that the rules of your neighborhood or subdivision are binding, and we can take no action that will negate their jurisdiction over your property. Our board tonight is for interested parties to be heard in order to assist the board in gathering evidence pertinent to each case. If the members of the BZA feel the need for further information to clarify a case, the board has the authority to subpoena witnesses. In addition to your testimony, our board has been presented written information submitted to the staff by the applicant or their agent for each case. This information is now considered to be evidence and is entered into the permanent record of this body. It is assumed that it is complete, true, and accurate. Also, we have been presented data assembled by the staff for the purpose of clarifying the location and the effect on surrounding property. Our board is empowered to approve with conditions, or to deny your request. We are also authorized to defer a case should there be a need to obtain additional information. If an applicant's request is disapproved and they wish to appeal the decision of this board concerning their case, appeals must be addressed to the circuit court. South Carolina Code 6-29-820 states that the appeal must be filed by the applicant within 30 days after the decision of the board is mailed to them. Failure to file an appeal within the time limit deprives the court of the jurisdiction to hear the matter. Because this is a quasi-judicial body, everything said in this meeting must be complete, true, and accurate. All of the information provided to the BZA is considered evidence, and this board may certify contempt of circuit court if false statements are made either in writing or orally. Because of this, each person who wishes to address the board will be sworn in. In order to expedite the procedure, those wishing to speak, both in person and at Town Hall and on Zoom, if you would all please stand as a group, Mr. Wilson will administer the oath at this time to those who wish to speak. Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Chairperson. Please raise your right hand if you intend to speak. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You're so sworn. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. If you would like to address the board and are participating by Zoom, please use the chat function at this time and state your name, whether you are in support or opposition, and you will be called upon to speak at the appropriate time. And if anyone is called in and would like to speak, you will be recognized by your phone number and called upon when the time comes. Kristen, does this happen now or when they speak? I'm not, or maybe I should address that to Nikki.
Yeah, when the time comes for opposition and support, then we'll call on them.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just was reading off the script here, so sorry to get sidelined. I will now call the case by file number. Staff will present facts pertinent to the case with unlimited time. I will then call the applicant to address the case. The applicant will be limited to 10 minutes. Ms. Wood will be timing, or Ms. Grimble. I guess Ms. Wood in Town Hall and Ms. Grimble on Zoom will be timing the time limit. The applicant will please state their name, their current address for the record before presenting testimony. I will then ask for all those speaking in support of the case that are present in Town Hall to stand up one by one, state their name and address for the record, and they will be limited to 2 minutes each. I will then ask anyone wishing to speak in support who are on Zoom to please wait until their name is called to speak. I will then ask for those speaking in opposition and are present at Town Hall to do the same. And I will follow the same procedure for those on Zoom who wish to speak in opposition. The applicant will then have a chance to reply to any opposition. They will be limited to another 2 minutes, and then the BZA will make a motion to close the case to the public. Finally, the BZA will make a motion concerning the application, stating specific findings of fact and conclusions of law. And I apologize if any of that was confusing to those of y'all on Zoom. I will assure you, anyone wishing to speak tonight will get a chance to speak. We'll be sure that you're recognized either in person, on Zoom, or by phone. With that said, tonight we will hear one special exception request. This request must meet all criteria of the ordinance. We will now hear case number BZAS-5-22-025 with staff review from Kristen Crane. Ms. Crane?
Everybody see the screen? Okay, I'll just go ahead and read through the staff review and then go through the pictures and such. The applicant, Kentucky Fried Chicken Corporation, is requesting a special exception for a fast food restaurant on a vacant lot in the community commercial zoning district in the commercial core of the Folly Road overlay zoning district. The lot lines for 890 and 896 Folly Road have been recently reconfigured, and the properties are the previous locations of Pizza Hut, Subway, Papa John's, and Corky's Outdoor Power Equipment, which have since been demolished. 890 Folly Road is 0.65 acres in size. Adjacent properties to the south, north, and west are in the town of James Island and are zoned community commercial. The adjacent parcel to the east is in the city of Charleston's jurisdiction and is zoned general office. Additional uses within 300 feet include convenience stores and service stations, vehicle service, general restaurant, social club or lodge, drugstore, personal improvement services, and parcels in the town of James Island zoned RSL, which is low density suburban residential, and DR1F, which is diverse residential in the city of Charleston. Section 153.093 of the overlay states that uses requiring a special exception include fast food restaurants. The applicant is seeking to utilize the property for the operation of a KFC quick service restaurant. As stated in the letter of intent, the intent for this project is to offer a family-friendly restaurant to the town of James Island. It is our intention that this site will be beneficial to the area and fulfill all necessary special exception requirements. KFC is excited for this opportunity and will work diligently to avoid any negative impact to the surrounding James Island community and avoid any potential development that is inconsistent with the town of James Island comprehensive plan. Pebble Hill MP LLC is the current owner of the subject parcel, and the lot is considered legal and conforming. So here's the current landscaping plan that was submitted. And here's the architectural rendering and conceptual. And I'll just go through, there's a Google Street View of the parcel as it is now. And then here is the subject property. Adjacent property, Hyams and Chase Bank. Adjacent property on the west side of Folly Road is the car wash, and on the east side is AT&T or Southern Bell. And then we have looking south and north on Folly Road. According to section 153.045E, special exceptions may be approved only if the board finds that the proposed use A is consistent with the recommendations contained in the Town of James Island Comprehensive Plan and the character of the underlying zoning district purpose and intent. In the response, the Town of James Island Comprehensive Plan economic development element states a strategy as encouraging a variety of diverse commercial uses that will benefit the town as a whole. The applicant states in the letter of intent that they will contribute to the economic development by adding to the town's workforce, offering employment positions for up to 12 community members. We will also be paying for a business license, adding to the town's revenue and hopes to improve the negative decline as a result and impact of the COVID pandemic. Transportation element strategies include encouraging redevelopment activities that improve existing car to bus stops and bicycle facilities. According to the letter of intent, KFC will adhere to the transportation element goal, which strives to promote a safe and inclusive transportation network. KFC will be actively contributing to this goal by building the bus shelter that is in front of our restaurant. Additionally, section 153.093H states that in the commercial core area, future development in this area is intended for higher intensity commercial uses than those found in the other areas of the corridor. And B, is compatible with existing uses in the vicinity and will not adversely affect the general welfare or character of the immediate community. In response, nearby properties have a wide range of existing uses, including convenience stores, service stations, vehicle service, restaurant, general, social club or lounge, florist, drugstore, personal improvement services, banks, and garden supply centers. The use may be compatible with most of the existing uses in the vicinity and should not adversely affect the general welfare or character of the immediate community. Additionally, the letter states that in consideration of the Rethink Folly Road project, the development fits in with the plan by remaining pedestrian friendly. We have done this by creating a large patio for outdoor seating and will have an exterior image that is welcoming to our guests. We have reoriented our building so that the door is now accessible from the front to pedestrians instead of from the side. We have also increased our building transparency so that only doors and windows, not blank walls, face the street. C, adequate provision is made for such items as setback buffering, including fences and/or landscaping, to protect adjacent properties from the possible adverse influence of the proposed use, such as noise, vibration, dust, glare, odor, traffic congestion, and similar factors. In response, a comprehensive landscaping plan is required during the site plan review process to address supplemental buffering, fencing requirements, parking, lighting, and setbacks. The applicants have presented a site plan showing required landscape buffering, and in their letter of intent state that traffic congestion has been addressed by completing a traffic study. The traffic study found that there was no significant change or delay in traffic. Although noise, vibration, dust, glare, and odor have not been addressed in the application, all applicants are required to meet town ordinances concerning such. D, where applicable, will be developed in a way that will preserve and incorporate any important natural features. In response, the parcel is currently vacant and has been previously prepped for future construction. Therefore, there are no important natural features on site that will be impacted. Landscaping and vegetation will be incorporated for requirements in the town's zoning regulations. E, complies with all applicable rules, regulations, laws, and standards of this ordinance, including but not limited to any use conditions, zoning district standards, or site plan review requirements of this ordinance. In response, the applicant is in the process to ensure compliance with the applicable regulations. And F, vehicular traffic and pedestrian movement on adjacent roads shall not be hindered or endangered. In response, vehicular traffic should not be hindered or endangered due to the recent intersection improvements at the site, as well as the improved parking layout and drive aisle design with the development of the neighboring parcel, Chase. Additionally, the development of the neighboring parcel included a 12-foot multi-use path throughout the length of the subject parcel, with no new curb cuts shown on the proposed site plan. Therefore, pedestrian movement should not be hindered or endangered. The applicant's letter of intent states that they have complied with all applicable rules and regulations, such as the requirement for a 10-car stack, parking on the side of the building, and avoidance of disturbing pedestrian traffic. The applicant has also supplied a traffic impact analysis updated with a proposed use that shows no significant change or delay in traffic, according to the LOI and the previous TIA. Recommended improvements from the traffic impact analysis have already been constructed and approved by SCDOT. The Board of Zoning Appeals may approve with conditions, or deny this case based on the findings of fact, unless additional information is deemed necessary to make an informed decision.
Thank you so much, Ms. Crane.
Mhm.
Are there any questions for staff from BZA members? Who would like to start?
Hi, I'm Stephanie Grant with KFC, and I believe I'll be speaking first.
Actually, Ms. Graff, if you would, we haven't called the applicant yet. Right now, we're going to question Ms. Crane, but thank you. We will be calling you in just a minute, so please stand by.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? And it might not be appropriate. Can I go, Corey?
Of course.
Talk to me a little bit about the Starbucks. I know it's not within 300 feet, but a lot of the letters of opposition that we received reference the Starbucks. Is that in the city of Charleston, or it is?
It's in the city of Charleston. And I know that they are currently redesigning their parking lot and stacking layout design, which the traffic engineer that's present may be able to speak a little more to that, but it's not in the town of James Island.
Okay. I asked because I know about how they have to have, police officer presence occasionally to help direct traffic, and I just know what a nightmare it has been. So I think that is that considered a fast food restaurant?
Their definition would be probably different than ours. I know that any additional this situation is a little different in that we require 10 stacking spaces for a fast food restaurant, which they have adhered to here. And if there were to be more than 10, it wouldn't spill out on any right of way. It would basically still be in the parking lot of the shared parking area between Chase and the proposed use. So I know Starbucks, if they exceed their stacking amount, they're already onto a right of way. And so there's no other way to get into their parking lot if they exceed the stacking, since they have one in and out there. So,
Okay. Thank you. That was very helpful.
Kristen, how many other fast food restaurants are in the town besides Chick-fil-A?
I believe 4.
And which would those be off the top of your head?
Bojangles, Dunkin' Donuts, Sonic, and Zaxby's.
Okay. Is the deal, and this may be in more of an applicant question, but you've been working closely with them. Is it a pretty firm deal with the bank to use the access and the parking? I mean, I know they cut through from camp, and I know the bank is probably closed some of the hours that KFC would be open, especially on weekends and after 5. And KFC doesn't do breakfast, but the bank opens at probably 9. But is that a pretty firm deal between Chase and KFC from what you know?
Yes, it is a shared parking situation, and actually Chase Bank has only a few designated parking spots just for Chase Bank. The town has an easement on this site to have a public parking lot. I don't know if y'all can see my pointer.
I can.
This is all considered public parking right here.
Okay. So that's considered public parking.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so Chase was developed basically in phases. And so phase 1 was Chase, and phase 2 would be this parcel with the known factor that the curb cut and the parking would be shared pretty much.
Okay. And so that obviously would be no issues as far as the access from Camp Road and then the shared parking behind the bank. I was just curious, and I guess that kind of goes into what you were talking about with if the stack went over 10, it wouldn't spill out onto Camp or to Folly, like Eugene Gibbs and Folly over at Chick-fil-A on the crazy Saturdays. Necessarily. I mean, unless, KFC got really popular. I'm just kind of wanting to ensure, if all of our facts with that. Thank you. How about any other questions? Don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I can. Does
I do, Brooke.
Okay, Roy, sorry, David. Roy had his hand up. I don't see you.
That's fine.
You go after Roy.
I defer to David.
Okay,
I'll
David, you
after
go
him
first.
if he doesn't cover what I want.
David, you're very thorough. You go first.
Yeah, thank you, Kristen. Just so that we know for this later discussion, a traffic study was part of this application. And if I look at that traffic study, it looks like it was dated June 14th of 2022. I believe that I first got a copy on June 15th of 2022. And just so the record is correct, as I understand it, this traffic study is different than the traffic study that it is based upon that was dated, I think, October of a few years back. My question is, would it be fair to say that the residents of the town who might be in opposition to this have only had 4 business days to consider this traffic study and see whether or not they wanted to hire somebody who could test its validity?
The original traffic study was done when the Chase Bank was being built. And so from my understanding, there have been no further recommendations from DOT from that original traffic study that would change anything that they have already done on this site from the original traffic studies to what this use is. So the original traffic study has been available. I I see things like this, I don't know what a resident would be able to get out of looking all that data. But yeah, there have been no, I'm not exactly sure how to answer that question because
Well,
I don't
let
know
me,
if traffic studies
let-
are usually.
yeah, I'm not sure that I quite agree with you, because as I read this traffic study, it says on page 6 under table 5, it talks about an additional delay for this project on top of whatever delay existed in the previous study.
Right.
So they're not identical. And that's what I want to ask you about is, how long have these residents had this new study to take a look at it and see if they wish to retain their own traffic engineer to say, yes, I agree with the findings here? It, as I understand it, would it only be 4 business days?
I suppose. Mhm.
Okay. I think that's the only question that I had.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Savage. Mr. Smith?
I wanted to ask if the traffic study included other properties up and down Folly Road, including the other ones that are not in the town of James Island, but in the city of Charleston, like whatever ones are there. How far did the traffic study go?
I think traffic study questions would be best for the engineer who wrote the traffic study and not for me.
Fair enough. Thank you, Ms. Crane.
He is here. There's two of them.
Thank you. I will ask him. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Yeah, fair enough.
Ms. Fabry, did you have any questions for staff?
Yes. Kristen, would you please just walk us through, if you could enlarge the site plan that you have up on the screen and just walk us through the site plan for the restaurant and the bank, like where the ingress egress are, where the stacking is, just site plan 101, please.
Okay. So here is, can y'all see this? My cursor, I switched it off the PowerPoint. Camp Road is here. Folly
I
Road
can't
is
see
here.
it.
Can you make it
I can't.
bigger?
No,
Yeah, if you could make it like full
just zoom in a
screen.
little bit.
is that better?
Didn't change it on mine.
Really?
I don't see your cursor, but
I don't either.
But if you can describe things, for example, Camp Road is to the bottom and
Yeah.
Folly is to the left.
Can you see the screen moving at all, or maybe I should?
No, when you maximized it when you went through the presentation, the initial presentation, if we could get that full screen of the site plan, that would
Oh, okay.
help us.
I'll do that. I'll go back and do it like this.
Perfect.
Okay. So Camp Road, Folly Road. So you could enter Camp off of Camp and go this way. And then you would get in the stacking lane right here. And each one of these is a car.
Okay.
So here is the order box. And then, and then the pickup window is here. And then you would circle back around and could either turn right only back onto Folly or go back onto Camp. You could go out of the light or this way. And then I don't know what else. Is there anything else? There's patio seating here. This is the parking spaces that are reserved for Kentucky Fried Chicken here. Dumpster, bus shelter right here off of the multi-use path. And so I suppose you could come off of Folly and turn right and go this way also into the drive-through this way.
Okay, on that shared parking lot.
Right there.
So there's no curb cut there for
No.
egress. So it's just a shared parking lot. So somebody from the bank leaving gets out how now currently?
This is already existing. This hatch,
Okay.
this is already here, and this is already here. So this is all of this is already here up to this line, basically. So the bank parkers can get out the way they do right now, either way. Or they could park back here in the shade.
So then the bank traffic and the fast food traffic will commingle on the egress onto Camp Road.
Yes, and that's what we encourage in the overlay is shared parking and less curb cuts.
Okay. And on the drive-through lane, that's just strictly a single drive-through lane. So like, for example, there's no room for a car to go around it. Like how with Chick-fil-A, if you came in off of Folly Road, you would actually circle around basically once to get into the line. That can't happen here.
Right. Chick-fil-A has parking all over here, which is why they would have extra drive aisles.
Right.
Parking on that side. So it's just a single lane. Kind of like, I think Zaxby's is that way right now.
Okay.
I think this is kind of a similar layout to the way Zaxby's is.
And then when the egress section from onto Folly Road, or I'm sorry, onto Camp Road, does that happen? Because I can't remember, and I went and looked at it again today, and I still can't remember. Is that where it splits into three lanes or 2 lanes?
Yes, this is all. There's 3 lanes right here: a left lane, a straight lane, and a right lane.
So those people will be pulling out into basically 4 lanes of traffic, but I mean, they'll be accessing 3 lanes of traffic, either the dedicated right turn straight or the dedicated left-hand turn lane.
Just as they do now. It's the same.
Okay. And the bus shelter is that solid?
Right. It's right here. There is a bench there right now. Chase put a bench there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fabry. Ms. Hip, do you have any other questions for staff?
What are the hours of the Chase Bank? Are they open on Saturday?
Not really sure.
Okay, I'll look that up while I'll look it up while we are listening. Hold on one second.
I could get out of the screen and look on their.
I'm looking if they're open on Saturday from 9 to 1.
Okay.
Which do we know the KFC hours offhand? What their proposed hours are?
I think it's 10:30.
I'll wait and ask the applicant.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. No, I'm just picturing Folly Beach traffic. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hip. Any other questions for Ms. Crane? If there are none at this time, I will now call the applicant. You have a 10-minute limit, and we look forward to hearing from you. Please, if you would state your name, address, and address for us, Ms. Grant.
Sure, thanks. Stephanie Grant. My address is 9117 Pine Breeze Drive. That's in Riverview, Florida. And can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So wanted to say thank you for joining us today, and a really special thank you to Kristen Crane. She has graciously dealt with our many questions, never said no to a meeting, and her input has been invaluable and patience greatly appreciated. So again, I'm Stephanie with KFC. In person in the town hall is Thomas and Dylan. They're both with Kimley Horn. They are our engineers on the project. Thomas has been involved every step of the way on this, and Dylan completed the traffic study, so he is there to answer your many questions, I'm sure. First, a little bit about KFC. I'm sure you're familiar with us. We've been around for 70 years, serving communities all over the globe, really, and we're excited about this opportunity. What really differentiates KFC from the rest of our competitors in the area is our ability to offer food to both individuals and larger families. We're famously known for our buckets of chicken and our wholesome sides, something mom and dad can pick up and quickly, create a family meal. We also serve individual chicken sandwiches that's really for anybody to enjoy. Although we are technically a quick service drive-through restaurant, we want the community to think of this as more of a sit-down restaurant that's very pedestrian friendly. We have created, and you'll see on the rendering, it's a large glass window that fronts Folly Road, so it's very transparent. We have also designed a big patio to encourage outdoor seating. We do have indoor seating as well. We are going to include a bike rack, and like Kristen mentioned, we are going to build that bus shelter out front as well. So, and also on the inside, we are going to create a mural that is dedicated to James Island, something really creative. So I hope you can see that we are working in every way we can think of to make this project as unique as the town is. We certainly are not going to be plopping down a prototype KFC. We are working with Kristen, and we'll work with everyone we need to make sure that it's quite unique. The last thing I want to mention is that this new restaurant would participate in KFC's Harvest Food Donation Program, which is a local hunger relief organization to provide those in need. Since 1999, KFC has donated more than 87 million meals to 3,700 nonprofits. Another thing we do is we will be employing upwards of 12 full and part-time employees, and the KFC Foundation creates scholarships and other assistance programs to those employees to help them build lasting careers. We have done about $23 million to over 8,000 KFC employees through this. So our goal is always to positively impact the community in any way we can. So that was a quick overview of KFC. I will be here to answer any questions you have about the brand. I'm going to kick it over to Thomas now to quickly talk about the site itself, and then Dylan will go over the traffic.
Purcell. I'm an engineer with Kimley Horn. Going to try to leave enough time for Dylan to go through traffic, but want to hit on a few of the more important site-related things. So the building is roughly 2,400 square feet. We have a drive-through that wraps around the rear building with 10 stacking spaces, which is what the town code requires. We are proposing a bus shelter on Folly Road at the location where there's currently a bench. I think this will benefit a lot of folks in the community that ride the bus system. With that, we have outdoor seating, a bike rack, and a sidewalk that connects from there to the sidewalk along Folly Road, which is a 12-foot wide sidewalk. So we have good connectivity between the building and Folly Road, which we think aligns with the Rethink Folly Road plan. We'll talk about stacking spaces a little bit. So we provide 10 stacking spaces in the drive-through, and then I know there were some questions about how many cars could stack in the parking area before they would back up into Folly or Camp Road. You could put roughly 22 cars in those drive aisles in addition to the 10 in the drive-through before you'd ever have anything back up into Folly or Camp Road. We did perform a traffic study. I do want to note that the traffic study was not required by the town. Town requires a traffic study for sites over 5 acres or with over 100 peak hour trips. We're obviously under 5 acres, and we're also under the 100 peak hour trip number. But we wanted to provide a traffic study to ease any concerns about traffic. Stormwater, I know, is also a big issue. We'll work with Charleston County to provide stormwater detention on site that will treat for both stormwater quantity and quality. With that, I'll turn it over to Dylan Turner and he can talk about traffic.
Hey, good evening. Dylan Turner, business address 115 Fairchild Street, Charleston 29414. Home address is 7 Arcadian Park, Charleston 29407. So to catch all up kind of on the traffic for this, we initially did the traffic study for the Chase Bank and what we called a high turnover sit down restaurant in October of 2020. High turnover sit down restaurants, think of Chipotle Moe's type. Thomas came to me earlier this month and said, hey, we're actually looking at that being a KFC. Should we consider any updates? So I ran a trip gen and on page, let's see here, 4 of the memo that I sent over, you'll have the difference in trip gen. So our original versus our proposed. So with the fast food versus high turnover sit down, the total number of trips is anticipated to be 19 more in the AM peak hour and 11 more in the PM peak hour. I will also note that KFC does not serve breakfast. However, with coordination with SCDOT, anytime we do fast food, we study the AM peak hour because other fast food chains did not serve breakfast. So Wendy's and Taco Bell are an example of that. So they still want to see the analysis of the just in case scenario. Really just here to answer any questions you'll have on the traffic study. I know that y'all had a few already, but I'll be glad to answer as those come up. But yeah, just here to answer questions. So appreciate it.
Thank you, Dylan, Thomas, and Stephanie. We really appreciate it. So I know we'll have a lot of questions for you. Who would like to start?
I can start.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Thomas, I'm looking at the map and I just quickly dotted, estimated what a size of a car would be. You said there would be a 22 car additional stacking potential. And I might be reading the site plan wrong, but it looks like quite possibly only 5 to 6 cars would be in that Camp Road ingress before it becomes an issue. And again, I just dotted this very quickly and have very little understanding of the fast food drive-through. So forgive me if I'm wrong. And it looks like potentially 9 to 10 cars could fit in the area from your 10th car to Folly Road. Is that what I'm seeing, that you would have the cars from Folly would come in just past Chase Bank?
Yeah, so I could clear that up a little bit.
Okay.
22 would be the total number. So you could fit roughly 12 cars between the drive-through and Folly Road, and roughly 10 cars between the drive-through and Camp Road. We don't anticipate that ever being needed, but wanted to help ease any concerns about. So I know the Starbucks backs up into the road, and this site is a little different than that. There's more room on site for overflow if you were to ever stack past 10 cars.
Theoretically, it is, but I just know that what we just went through with Chick-fil-A, and I know it's 2 different things. They went into this process only needing X amount of stacking, and it's this complete anomaly where they now need this just insane number of stacking vehicles because it's been such a high demand. I'm just envisioning the type of customer you're going to get is going to be people grabbing buckets of chicken on the way to the beach in addition to the families. And I'm just trying to picture how many cars can fit in this area.
Right.
And thank you for that. You answered what I needed to know, that it's not really 22, it's more like 12. And you said 12 and tell me one more time, the Folly Road stack is 12 and the Camp Road stack would be 8, you said?
Yeah, sorry, it's a little hard to hear you. But yeah, it's roughly 12 to Folly and roughly 10 to Camp.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. The Zoom makes it difficult. I'm sorry. That was my question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Corey. Anyone else? Questions for the applicant?
I do have a question. Sorry, Mr. Savage, but I do have a question, I think for Mr. Turner. Is that correct? Did you consider businesses other than other fast food restaurants in your traffic study?
Yes, so whenever we did the count here, we used information from the Camp Road Middle School relocation, so 2020, and then we grow that by a background growth rate, so 3% per year to build out year of 2022 was our analysis time for that. So the intersections we studied were Folly and Camp Road, and then the 2 site access points. So that's where we would consider, so any of that traffic volume that was there, that could be beach traffic, residents, other restaurants, etc., would have been captured at the Folly and Camp Road for this analysis. And the study area that we did was coordinated back in 2020 with SCDOT, Josh Johnson there, the district traffic engineer, and Kristen as well. But I think Kristen deferred a lot of that to SCDOT.
Now, and let me just ask a question. In 2020, what kind of information did you have from 2020? That's during COVID. I mean, was it information that happened during COVID, or was it historical information, or what?
Oh, yeah. So actually the count information that we had, that's a good point. Thank you. It was actually prior to the COVID outbreak. So what we used was a projected traffic study that looked at the build out year of Camp Road at 2020, because we didn't want to have the counts there at Camp and Folly before the Camp Road Middle School had moved over to the other side of Camp Road. And so we used those traffic volumes, which that study was done by Bill Engineering. So we used her traffic volumes there, and then we projected those up by 3% per year to 2022, excuse me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I also do want to ask you though, have you specifically included Hyams traffic? That's a very popular place on James Island, and traffic actually sometimes backs up going into Hyams. Do you have any numbers for Hyams?
Yeah, so we don't have any driveway counts at Hyams itself, but any of the traffic volume that was at Hyams that would go through the Folly and Camp intersection would have been captured in our analysis, but nothing particular to what goes in and out of their business.
Okay, thank you. I do also, maybe Ms. Grant, if I could ask you a question, and that is, I understand that right now, you don't serve breakfast, but is there any guarantee that you never will?
I don't think,
okay, go ahead. Sorry.
go ahead.
No, I have not. That's my question. Is there any guarantee you will never serve breakfast?
I can't make that guarantee. I can tell you there is no plan to whatsoever.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I appreciate your candor and your honesty. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I think that's all for now, Ms. Lyon.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Savage has his hand up.
Thank you. First for Ms. Grant, the plan to make this as what you call it, sort of like a family friendly or a sit down there. You're from Florida and we're in Charleston. Is this patio going to be covered so that the people are sitting in the shade?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it will be.
All
We
right.
were going between individual tables with umbrella shade over it or a covered patio, and we liked the look of a covered patio better. So yes, this will be covered.
All right. And forgive me, you may or you may not know, what is different about this proposal than I believe there used to be a KFC on Folly Road that didn't make it.
There was a KFC on Folly Road. It wasn't that the sales weren't there. There was a franchisee who went bankrupt in 2011 and had to close. He had several locations in the area and closed them all.
All right. That answered that. Ma'am, have you had an opportunity to review some of the letters from members of the community in opposition?
I have.
And if you looked at those, you probably saw what I saw, that either there was a complaint that traffic would be impacted or that it wasn't good for the diversity of the community. And what I want to talk to you a little bit is our first criteria that we must find, and that is that the applicant or the application is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the character of the underlying zoning district. That's our criteria, and KFC's response, this is your own response, and I need a little bit of clarification. It says, the Town of James Island Comprehensive Plan states a strategy of, and I'm quoting, encouraging a variety of diverse commercial uses that will benefit the town of the whole. Now that's you bringing that in there. And it appears that that issue of diversity that you mentioned as being in support of your application is what most of the letters in opposition focus on. And can you help me a little bit explain how this KFC is going to promote the diversity of this area for the general benefit of all? Because I didn't know until today that of the fast food restaurants in the town of James Island, there's a Zaxby's, a Bojangles, a Chick-fil-A, a Sonic's, and a Dunkin' Donut, and now an application for a KFC. So if I understand correctly, there's going to be, of the 6 fast food restaurants, 4 of them are going to be dealing primarily with the sale of chicken products. So we have not only the fast food issue taking over this zone, but also in this particular case, the same type of fast food. So can you help me a little bit explain the diversity? Because your answer just talks about the economics of hiring people. And to be honest with you, that's going to apply to any business that goes in there. So that's
Sure.
that doesn't impress me much. I think that's an old song, so to speak.
May I interrupt for 1 second? I'm sorry. I just wanted to let you know that economic development element strategy was a staff response, and it didn't come from Ms. Grant. And I think I could have explained it a little better. We do have 5 fast food restaurants, but we have, in that area that we counted the 5, we have 106 other businesses. So that was where that thought came from. She can explain the rest of the response that has been quoted from her letter, but I just wanted you to know that that was a staff comment.
I was aware of the other businesses, Ms. Crane, but thank you.
Yeah. So first, to kind of piggyback off that, and I think we read the quote from the mayor, and he reiterated that fast food is still making up about 5% of all the businesses in James Island. But other than that, yes, there are chicken competitors in the area. I think where we come in is the value for the family meal, and that's where we're really different. I think the other place that we come in is working really closely with Kristen and with the town to make it more of a sit-down restaurant, a pedestrian-friendly restaurant. We do have a drive-through that's there for convenience, and if I may, I wanted to address the stacking real quick as well. I know there is a lot of concern on that. You guys have seen Chick-fil-A, you guys have seen Starbucks, and that causes a lot of traffic concerns. KFC does not see those type of stacking. We just simply don't do the sales that Chick-fil-A and Starbucks do. I wish we did, but the stacking is not going to be an issue. And again, it is there for convenience, most certainly, but we want people to ride their bikes. We want people to be walking around the town and come in to KFC and have it be more of a sit-down restaurant. I think that's different than what you're seeing at Chick-fil-A and Starbucks. Those are quick, drive-through, get your coffee and go. We don't necessarily want to be that. And we're going to work really hard to ensure that there is that community-friendly aspect to our building. And again, on the point of differentiating us from our competitors, Yes, we sell chicken sandwiches. Yes, we sell French fries, which our competitors do as well. First and foremost, I think ours is a little better, so that's a little that's a little different. I think we have a superior product, but other than that, it is that bucket of chicken and those sides that you're bringing home to your family that can feed a family of 5 at an affordable price. If you go to Chick-fil-A, you're buying individual meals, that adds up quickly. So I think our value there speaks for itself in price and quantity that we can serve the community.
I think I have a question on the site issue. The gentleman that spoke on the site, can you come to the microphone?
Yes, sir.
Miss Hip brought up some good points, and now she had me thinking. People are going to enter the restaurant either from Camp Road, and they're going to try to proceed straight and make a slight right into the drive-through, right? That's how the people on Camp Road are going to get to it, correct?
That's right. Yes, sir.
Okay. And those people that are coming and turning in from Folly, they're going to be coming straight down that that entranceway, wanting to veer a little bit to the left to get into the driveway, and it's going to create a little Y symbol. You understand what I'm talking about?
I do.
People, okay. What is the plan when there are competing cars trying from both locations to merge into the same drive-through? And a second part of that question is, and if those cars that are entering from Folly, if they back up with the cars that are coming in from Camp, would it obstruct the customers of the bank? So it's sort of a two-part question there.
If Camp backed up, it would not affect the bank. Theoretically, if the Folly entrance were to back up, and it would have to back up quite a ways, it could affect the bank, the parking directly in front of the bank. I will add, though, we have 4 stacking spaces from the drive-through window to the order box, which is the town requirement. And then we provide 6 more stacking spaces from the order box to the back of the drive-through. So we have 10 total. So it would take a lot of cars to back up out of the drive-through.
But you want to be successful, right? And success is making sales and getting customers, right? That's your goal.
Yeah, yes, sir.
All right. So, so what about that situation where you got the cars on Camp? You know, the person coming in thinking they're next, and the person that comes off of Folly thinking they're next, right? Coming to that little bottleneck to enter in. What's the plan there?
Right. So, it would behave like any situation where 2 cars arrive at one spot, and whoever's got the right of way would go first. So the first car to get there would get in line first, and then the second car would have to wait for that car to turn in.
So there's an assumption of civility and society on the road.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I mean, fair answer. With this site plan that you have, is there enough room where, let's say your business is great, where you could come back and say, we want a variance for a double drive-through? Does your site plan have enough room in it where you could eventually ask for a double drive-through, or are you limited to a single drive-through line?
We looked at that, and I think there are some tweaks that could be made to provide that. We elected not to go that route, as it's not allowed by the town's code. The town's code only allows single lane drive-through. And so we did not go that route.
David and Thomas, do you mind if I jump in real quick to add to that?
Sure.
Like Thomas did address, we had many variations of a site plan, and the first one, quite frankly, did include a double drive-through. But what that took away was that patio seating out front and being able to create a larger building with indoor dining. So we went the route of the single lane drive-through to accommodate that patio and that building to make it that pedestrian friendly environment, instead of so heavily focused on drive-through.
Well, that's a great point. Let me follow up with that. One of the justifications that you're telling me that you think satisfies condition A would be the fact that you're more of a family sit-in restaurant, right?
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons that you want to justify coming in here on a special exception. So if in the future you ask for a variance for a double lane, you would be obliviating that reason for getting the special exception now, right?
Correct.
Okay.
For that part.
So if KFC were to ask 4 years from now for that double lane, we would be well within our rights to say, well, wait a minute. We asked you about it then and you said, no, we don't want it. In fact, we're having this, right? So it would be a fair question at that time.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think my next question is for the traffic engineer. Sir, my name is David Savage and I am not a traffic engineer. And I'll tell you that right from the very beginning. I guess I want to, sort of walk backwards a little bit. And I'm looking at bear with me, I wasn't smart enough to remember this. On page 6 under table 5, it's talking about, I guess I'm going to use in layman's terms, traffic impacts. And it says the observed peak hour, under page 6, table 5, quote, the highest change in delay was 5.3 seconds at the intersection of Camp and Folly during the AM peak hour. I understand, though, that this increased delay of 5.3 seconds is on top of whatever earlier delay may have existed for the contemplated Chipotle?
Yeah, for the high turnover sit down. So it's saying that with the fast food restaurant, it would be 5.3 seconds per vehicle. So it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's your difference between then and then. We'll say 2 for AM peak hour, which that was the highest, and we're not doing breakfast yet. Who knows? So that's why we have it in there.
Thank you. But that 5.3 second increase is on top of that other increase for the Chipotle that was never built, correct? And my next question is,
yeah, that's correct.
What was that delay for the high turnover Chipotle? Because we have to add. Well,
yeah, it was. If you go to the table 5, in
yes,
that I'm not sure if you have it in front of you.
I do not.
Okay, it was the intersection delay was F in 154.2 seconds per vehicle. And that's with high turnover sit down. With the proposed KFC, it's F 159.5 seconds. And I will say that without anything happening there, so without the high turnover sit down or KFC or bank. So there's a row called 2022 background. Background is no build. The intersection was F 150.4 before consideration of the entire site. So overall, it's 9.1 seconds difference, which would not require mitigation from SCDOT, because we're not significantly increasing the delay at the intersection, and we're not changing the level surface grade at the intersection.
The question was the 5.3 plus how many seconds? Because you got to 9 and something. That's the question. What was the delay for the Chipotle? Because together with the 5.3 of this project with the Chipotle time, you said it was approximately 9 seconds. So what was the Chipotle
I can't hear you so well right now. It was really quiet.
All right. Do I understand basically then the time delay with this new application on top of the Chipotle would be somewhere in the 9 second?
Absent Chipotle. So absent Chipotle. So if it's, nothing happens on site, it's 9.1 seconds difference.
Okay.
The 5.3 seconds difference is the comparison to what we studied and was approved in 2020 versus what it is with the proposed KFC. And
Okay.
what we did in the 2020 was the Chase Bank and a high turnover sit down restaurant.
All right. So at least according to this traffic study, there will be an impact on traffic, right?
There's an increase in delay, absolutely. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. And I asked the town, because I have no expertise in the lingo that's being used here, but it looks like in the letter of intent in paragraph C, the applicant's letter of intent, paragraph C, quote, vehicular traffic shall not be drastically hindered or endangered. And my question is, does this term drastically, does that have an engineering definition or?
No, I would need to see drastic if the definition for me to make that interpretation would have to be either level service grade or a delay or something like that.
Okay.
So without it being a defined term, it becomes more subjective than an objective term.
Okay, which now brings me to my next question. In the traffic study at the end, it says, based upon these calculations, and I am paraphrasing a little bit, but it says basically no significant traffic impact, right? I kind of paraphrase that conclusion. Now, significant also is sort of it's a non-defined engineering term, right? It's just
that's correct. Yeah.
So that's sort of your impression.
That would also be subjective. I would say in the hundreds of traffic studies that I've completed, 5.3 seconds wouldn't be labeled as something that we would need to go mitigate for from something that we did before. And then with staying to DOT code as well, we haven't had to mitigate from what we did. And so that's why we're saying no significant, but you're correct. It's a subjective term because it's not defined by a delay term.
Mr. Savage, may I have the floor to interject?
I yield.
When you say 5 point something seconds, how much is that per year? If someone's going each way, each day, 5 days a week for 52 weeks a year, each way, and a 5-second delay. How do you know how much that is?
I don't have that.
Do you know how much 9 seconds, 9.1 seconds, 9.1 seconds is about 80 hours, I think. And 5 seconds is a little bit more than 40 hours or a week of their time. So but I may be wrong. For the record, I'm looking at this, and so I would defer back to Mr. Savage if he would like to pursue that, because I think that the time, if my calculation is correct, which it may not be, I'm not a mathematician, but I think that 2 hours, 2 weeks of my time, I think is significant in my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. I did the best I could to read the report, and it looks like some of the findings are the results of computer software calculations. You would agree with me that an average citizen who may have opposed this application, they might need to secure the services of their own traffic engineer to interpret it to see whether or not the assumptions made were accurate, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll say for the purposes of this, that is pretty common in the industry for traffic engineers to review other work because the town doesn't have the staff to do it. And so we do that for, if another consultant does it, we'll be glad to review it to give that peer review for that second.
And listen, I'm not challenging any of your assumptions. I'm really admitting to my lack of understanding based upon not having particular expertise, but I just wanted to establish that, at least from your own testimony, you're not saying that there is not going to be any adverse impact on traffic, just it's your opinion that it's not significant, correct?
That's correct. It's my engineering judgment that it's not a significant increase on delay.
I think those are all the questions that I have at this time, but I know that the other panelists always generate more questions for me, so I yield.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Savage. Ms. Fabry, did you have any questions for the applicant?
Sure, and I'll stick with Mr. Savage's line of questioning for Mr. Turner. Mr. Turner, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, good. So if we go back to that level of service report on page 6, where you talk about from background where they're build nothing to the 2022 build 1, build 2. Basically what we're looking at Camp and Folly Road is we're going from a level of service of F to a level of service of F at 154.2. Is that correct?
So it's F of 150.4 to F of 159.5.
Okay.
But I would have to say that includes the Chase as well. So the build that I did included the Chase bank. It's not exclusive of Chase. So that the Chase numbers are in that 9 seconds and that 5.3 that we discussed earlier.
Okay, point taken. I guess my question is, when it says LOSF, we're talking a level of service as F, with A being the best and F being the worst. We're going basically from an F to an F minus.
Yeah, it's just at this intersection, you have long delays. You have split phase on Camp Road. So those two side streets don't operate together, which exacerbates the delay, and that's due to the laneage and tight geometry that's through the intersection.
Okay, and so you do, to Mr. Savage's point, you do agree that with building the restaurant, that it will make an already poorly functioning intersection worse.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the numbers would say there. So the delay does increase. So whenever you add a car to an intersection, the delay increases.
Okay, thank you. And then I'm not a traffic engineer either. So I was just curious, if you go all the way to page, I think it's 34, which is the queuing and blocking reports. Mm-hmm. In reading through it, and this is just purely for my education, I had questions on, let me get to it. So when you do the intersection capacity analysis for the 2020 build, and you're looking at everything, what struck me is that when you look at the queue length of 50 feet, it has like a 193,576. And then down at the intersection summary, basically what that indicates is it says volume exceeds capacity, queue is theoretically infinite. What is, can you
that's the
explain
queue
that to me?
calculation. So that's the intersections whenever you have those Fs, that you basically have a limitation of that formula. So I don't know if that would be in the queuing and blocking. That's probably in the synchro reports. But basically is you have almost like a stepwise function of delay and queuing, and then you hit a point where your V over C goes, and then it becomes almost stepwise / linear to an exponential. And so at a certain point, that would be that the formula is no longer valid, basically. And so that's whenever we go to queuing and blocking, which is the simulation, to then go say, the simulation's like it looks at the signal timing, looks at our inputs, and then it gives out a simulated model versus a calculated model.
Okay, and it says underneath that, 95th percentile volume exceeds capacity, queue may be longer. Queue shown as maximum after 2 cycles. Does that just mean that it's such a poor level of service that at some point it's just, you can't apply the formula anymore? Is
Yeah,
that
so that basically what that means is that the calculations for queuing at that point, so the 95th percentile queue, the formula is not as trusted at that point, is what it means.
So in layman's terms, like it's really bad.
In layman's terms, the queuing is bad at Folly and Camp.
Okay.
Especially with on Folly, where you have quite a bit of volume going north-south in the AM and PM peak hours.
Right.
I mean, you just have to go to that intersection, you know that the queuing can be bad there.
Okay, and I had one more question. I'm trying to find the spot in the report. So bear with me, please. There was something about at Folly and Camp, user approved pedestrian interval is less than max green.
Oh, yeah. So that's basically that we use the inputs from the signal planning, our signal plans that we got for this. And so it's an error against the assumption within HCM, but we're using the data from the intersection plan. And so we basically overwrite it because we're using the field condition there.
Okay. Does that, I mean, it sounds like that's a bad.
I wouldn't say that it's bad. It's pretty standard practice because we're using what the field data is versus what the formula wants you to do within HCM. And that's why they allow that function, is for you to say, hey, actually, we want to model field, not ideal type conditions.
Okay, so you're not going to use the formula like you're going to study it real time.
So we use the formula for some things. So like the site street access and stuff, we'll use that because we don't have the errors for it. But we do want to use the field conditions because we want to replicate what is in the field versus what the formulas tell you to say. So you will still calculate. It's just saying like, hey, we expect you to use this. Are you wanting to use the field data? And that's what we're doing.
Okay. All right. I think that's it. Thank you very much for the brief traffic study lesson.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Fabry.
Ms. Lyon.
Yes.
May I? I do want to ask the question to the traffic engineer there. So 5 seconds per day each way is 10 seconds per day. Can you tell us, my assumption is that's around 40 hours a week or about a work week for me. Can you confirm how, have you discussed, I mean, have you studied how much that is per year? Or
no, that's not
9.1 seconds is per year?
For a traffic study, we don't look at it for the year. You look at the impact within the hour itself. So we do peak hour analyses, and that's what we look at. So we count the intersection, we find the highest volume within that peak hour. We then add the site traffic on top of that. And so then we look at the impact within the hour.
So let me just ask a question. Have you ever been asked to look at what it means for someone who lives out towards Folly Beach in the town of James Island and what it means for them per year? Have you looked at that, or is that?
I've not been asked to look at that for a traffic study before.
Okay. So so I would ask everyone to do the math on your own. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Can I ask one more before?
Of course. Go ahead, Ms. Hip.
I have one question for you, Ms. Grant. What is the average ticket time? Are you able to estimate that? Like if I were to go through your drive-through and order my 3 kids and my husband, I'm going to have a bucket of chicken and all the sides. Can you give me an average ticket time for a lunchtime experience and an average ticket time for a dinner time experience, please?
I do not have that information. Michelle Adams is on the line. She is my boss. She's head of corporate development. Michelle, do you happen to have speed of service times for lunch and dinner?
Unfortunately, I don't have that exact time right now. I can grab that really quickly, but I don't have it off the top of my head. That's definitely something that I would have to grab for you.
Just even an estimate, like 8 minutes, 6 minutes. I haven't eaten at KFC since college. I mean, sorry.
Which is why we need to build one in James Island.
Well,
I like
closed the one on
KFC.
Spring
I
Street.
confess.
Well, I went to the one on Spring Street frequently in college.
I would hate to guess because I honestly don't know, but I can reach out to an operations partner and get an answer for you pretty quickly.
Okay, I have one other question real fast that I can ask Thomas if he wants to come back to talk about the site plan one more time. And Kristen, I don't know if do you have a vision of that Chase Bank coming down Camp towards Folly if I was going to turn right on Folly? Because I just looked on Google Maps and it's the subway still. I just want to talk about if I were going to go to the bank, I would come in and turn right where I see your checkered pattern. Is that correct? I guess where your overstack was that we were talking about earlier. If I was going to access the bank from Camp Road, I would come in that way and I would hit David's Y, potential Y, to turn left into the bank parking lot. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then again, if I'm leaving the bank, I'm potentially going to come in contact with overstack, potentially. The only way in and out of the bank is the same way as in and out of the KFC. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yes, I mean, you could go right or left out of that parking lot. So you could go, if you're turning right on Folly Road, you could go out the Folly Road entrance, or you could go back to the Camp Road entrance. And so depending on if cars were to stack past the 10th car mark in the drive-through, you could encounter that. It just depends.
Okay. So the only way in and out of the bank is the same way as in and out of the KFC. And then you could potentially commingle with overstack, assuming.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And just the ticket time, Ms. Adams, I mean, it would be helpful to understand how long the 10 cars could potentially be waiting. I just know what that intersection is like. I know what it's like getting to Folly Beach. I know what it's like coming home from Folly Beach. And that is a very unsafe intersection. So it would be good to understand how long the cars are going to be in line. And that is it. Ms. Lyons, I'm sure you have questions. I'm sorry we've been talking so much.
If I could add one more thing, I believe the math is 120 minutes a year if you encounter a 10-second delay. Going each way, which is obviously a much smaller number. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Tom.
Thank you, Ms. Hip. And if Ms. Adams comes back with that information at another time in the meeting, I'm sure we would like to hear that information. I don't know if she's going to check on that tonight or if that's something we'll have to wait and get. I did have a quick question. This is going to be a corporate restaurant. Is that correct? My question is directed to you, Miss Grant.
Yes, that is correct. It will be a corporate restaurant.
Okay, not another franchise. I always wondered what happened to the KFC down the street. And I know there's been a lot of discussion about turning and traffic and backups. So, and this may be more of a DOT issue or it's not feasible, but I'm looking at this rendering where it comes out on Folly, the entrance and egress. There's been some concern stated about people turning left heading to the beach, not turning left at the camp light and coming back through the bank, but turning left right there. Isn't there some sort of median there that you could force a right turn only in and a right turn out? Is that something y'all have considered? Is that something that you could do to possibly. And I guess this would be more directed towards, I guess, towards Thomas.
Well, actually, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no,
There,
go ahead.
you're talking about on Folly Road.
I am.
There is already an existing median there. I believe it was
Okay.
in recently, but yes, you can only do a right in, right out on Folly Road.
Okay, I thought because this doesn't show that, and I just assumed that this is what it was going to look like after it was all said and done if it were approved for this. Well, good. Well, that's good to know. Thank you.
And I am getting a response from Michelle. She is texting me.
Okay.
145 seconds is
I'm
our
sorry.
145 seconds is the average ticket time, which is a little over 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes.
And that's overall, that's lunch or dinner?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
May I speak?
Mr. Smith, please.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I forgot to divide by 60. So instead of 45 minutes, it's less. But I still think that the impact is considerable if we do the math. And people who live there are going to be impacted by that 5-second delay every day, each way, or a 9.1 second impact each day, each way. My math, it may be wrong, and I apologize. I'm sure that it is. I think I said initially that I'm not a mathematician. I didn't think it through completely. I only thought of it as we were discussing this. However, I know that I lived in Atlanta for a long time and had 43 stoplights from my house to the way to work, and each one annoyed me. And 5 seconds each day, each way would annoy me quite a bit.
Any other questions for the applicant? Well, thank you all very much. You have been very thorough and I think answered all of our questions. And I do appreciate Ms. Adams getting back to us so quickly on the ticket times. And that was how many minutes? Just for the record?
2.4.
2.4. Great. So at this time, is there anyone at Town Hall who would like to speak in support of this request? Flannery, are you at Town Hall?
Yes, we don't have anyone here to speak.
Okay. Nikki, is there anyone on, or Kristen, is there anyone on Zoom who would like to speak in support of this request?
We don't have anybody who would like to speak in support.
Okay. Flannery, I'm coming back to you now. Is there anyone at Town Hall who would like to speak in opposition to this request? There's a 2-minute limit if there is per person.
There's not.
Okay, then we'll go back to you, Nikki. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition on Zoom?
Yes, we have Miss Wendy Tripp, and I have just allowed her the ability to unmute, and I will set a timer for 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. And if you would state your name and address, Miss Tripp.
Yes, I am Wendy B. Tripp. I am a property owner of 888 Folly Road, next door to the property being discussed. Himes Garden Center rents this property from us. My problem, or our problem, with adding even one more entrance exit to Folly Road is that I've been listening for an hour and a half, is how we still have a problem on Folly Road from all the other entrances and exits. The town worked several years back to make the intersection of Camp and Folly Road a little more driver friendly. Now where that intersection is, like we've all discussed, there is a mess crossing Camp and Folly. Even at the intersection with that light, people coming from Bishop Gadsden and the county park, the people out of Walgreens filtering in there. Sometimes you can sit 12 cars for that even light to go over with the access. Just too much traffic in that corner section. I love Kentucky Fried Chicken, but I think we could find a location a little farther down the road with less traffic. That's just a terrible intersection between Himes all the way down to Starbucks, which we all know, and Chick-fil-A. So I do think all the information with the traffic and the DOT that shows how much more, even by a few seconds, to slow people down. I think it's very nice that we're checking that all out, because I just don't think that's a good spot for that. And George feels the same way. He's having trouble even with taking the road that they did to widen the road, took off of our property. His entrance and exit to the gift shop will be right there where the chicken will be taking the right turn. So that's going to cause a lot of havoc getting in and out. So I do appreciate your time, and I do hope that we do not make another problem with having more traffic dumping right there at that intersection. That's our biggest concern, and I do appreciate you letting me speak.
Thank you, Ms. Tripp. Do we have anyone else, Nikki, on Zoom?
No, that's the only person that was registered. And I don't have any indication from the chat either.
Okay, no one by phone either.
Correct.
Okay. I do want to mention we had 13 letters or emails against that were received before the noon cutoff. And I believe everyone has gotten a copy of those. So at this time, I'll call the applicant back for rebuttal, since there was verbal opposition as well as the letters that you all are aware of. So if Nikki or Flannery would set a 2-minute time limit for the applicant to address the opposition, I would appreciate it.
Sure. So I can address the concern about, I believe there was concern with adding driveways. So before the Chase was developed, there were 3 curb cuts on Camp Road that were all full access driveways. 2 of those have been closed. There's now only 1 curb cut on Camp Road that's full access. There was also a full access driveway on Folly Road, and that has been converted to right in, right out. So you can no longer take the left on the Folly Road. And I will also add that the 2 driveways proposed for this project are existing. They're not, they've already been constructed. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. At this time, you still have a little time left. Did anyone else want to speak from KFC?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry, I will just briefly state I truly do understand the issue of traffic. I live in Tampa, Florida, and know very well how traffic impacts your day. I hope we helped mitigate concerns with the traffic study. I do also want to point out that that is a vacant commercial lot. Whether KFC goes there or another business, there will be eventually some traffic added there. I think it helps to have a restaurant that does want to focus on the pedestrian aspect of things instead of stacking, doing that double drive-through, all of that. So that was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. So at this time, I'll close the hearing to the public. And we need a motion and a second in order to have discussion. I will go ahead and make a motion for approval for discussion. If there's a second, then we can discuss.
Second.
Okay.
David Savage, second.
Ms. Lyon, myself, Brooke Lyon, made the motion to approve. Mr. Savage made the motion to second. So now we can discuss. Who would like to start?
I would.
Okay.
And I simply say this because I wanted to see if there might be a consensus to make a quick effort to get an executive session going. I have some questions on the receipt of evidence that I think we can use some assistance on from legal counsel. So if there is anybody else who might be inclined to indulge me to go into executive session for a short period of time, I'd be glad to make the motion. If nobody wants to do that, I won't make the motion, but
I second.
Okay, I think anytime one of our members feels the need for executive, I think, we should allow that. So thank you, Mr. Smith, for seconding that. But it's up to everyone to vote on that. Francis, would you take a roll call vote to go into executive session?
Commissioner Fabry,
Aye.
Commissioner Hip,
Aye.
Vice Chair Savage,
aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Chairwoman Lyon.
Aye. So we will go into executive session. I would like to, it's a little different on Zoom. We will all need to mute or leave, if you will, or don't leave the meeting, but just mute, walk away from your cameras. I believe it will be done over the telephone. Is that correct, Ms. Crane?
Yes, we'll go in the conference room at Town Hall and we'll give everyone a call from our conference room.
Okay, and it may take a few minutes for members of the public and the applicant, so please be patient while we work through these logistics, and we will be back just as quickly as we can.
You were going to call me, right?
Yes, we're gonna call you guys. And
Kristen has my cell. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, I think Kristen has all of our cells, and we'll listen out for your call. So
be patient with us.
We will. Thank you.
Brooke, are you there?
Can anybody hear me? Francis, David?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. We are back. I'm sorry we took so long. No votes were taken. We were getting legal advice. We will pick up where we left off. There was a motion made to approve with a second for discussion, and here we are in the discussion phase. Yes, Mr. Savage.
If we wish to discuss, I'm okay with that too. But I would like to, I'm not going to formally make the motion, but if I think there's support for it, because we're dealing with a traffic study that was very technical, and we had some clarification today. I'm going to be honest with you, 4 days wasn't a lot of time for me to consider that. Likewise, I think there might be some members in the community that might like to take a look at that. I want to thank the applicant engineer, Mr. Dylan Turner, who said himself that sometimes these things need another set of eyes on it to know what kind of questions to ask. So if I think there would be support, I would probably move to table or to continue this for 30 days to give any interested persons who were in opposition a chance to hire whoever they want to, but more importantly, to allow me to study this based upon the testimony to date, because there may be some follow-up questions. In other words,
have any thoughts on that?
if everybody else is in agreement, fine, I'll make the motion. If everybody's saying they wish to go forward, I won't make the motion.
I would like to second your motion for all of the reasons that you stated.
Actually, there's no motion made yet. I think Mr. Savage is throwing that out there for us to consider. Am I correct on that, Mr. Savage?
Yeah, I don't want to gum up the works.
Okay.
If there's a consensus to do it, fine. If not, I won't make the motion.
Okay, well, I would support that. I feel like there's been enough concern stated by the public about traffic. It is highly technical. I would support you're making a motion and Mr. Smith seconding it if that's what everyone else feels that we should do, and it might benefit everyone, including us. We could learn more about all this technical traffic.
I saw Corey shake her head. Amy,
A big
any thoughts
issue.
on that?
A motion, I'd approve. Aye.
And we have a motion on the floor now.
No, I just wanted to see.
No, but
Do we have Brooks' motion on the floor? I'm sorry.
we do. So we would need to
Rescind the motion.
well, it's been seconded and we're discussing, and I am looking hard to see how we handled it with Chick-fil-A, because as I recall, we tabled it for the purpose of getting more information.
May I rescind my second?
Of course. I think everybody's tired. I know
I think that Bo had to go do research on what constituted a double drive-through.
He did.
And then we wanted the applicant to do more research on the water retention.
Yes.
So if Brooke can rescind her motion for approval, and then we can let Mr. Savage make his motion for deferral. Mr. Wilson, is that your understanding?
Yes, I'm waiting for a motion.
I think Mr. Savage needs to make the motion to continue, right?
Thank you.
To continue or to table for 30 days.
I make a motion to table this matter for 30 days.
How about to our next meeting?
To our next meeting.
Our next appointed meeting time, which is July the 19th. That should give everybody plenty of time to review, and
that's the motion. You can restate it.
The motion is on, Mr. Savage has made the motion to table the meeting to give folks more time to get their own traffic study or have someone review the traffic study provided by the applicant, and also to give board members an opportunity to understand and ask questions at the next meeting after further studying it. Is that the gist of what everyone wants? Okay. So I guess just keep it simple. We'll make the motion to, Mr. Savage makes the motion to table it until July 19th. And Mr. Smith seconded it. And Francis, if you would do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Fabry,
Aye.
Commissioner Hip,
Aye.
Vice Chair Savage,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Chairwoman Lyon.
Aye. So we will table this until our normal meeting time in July. Would like to thank the applicant for their hard work in presenting all this information. I would like to thank the public and everyone who sent letters and cares in the community to come out and state how they feel. And I'd like to thank the staff for all their hard work. I don't have any other announcements. So if there is no further business, this meeting of the Town of James Island Board of Zoning Appeals stands adjourned. Thank you all very much, and we will see you in July.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.